Hi, this is CJ Holmes. I'm an independent real estate broker, founder of Homeowners for Justice, and doing this little workshop today on the additional information and how to find it on analyzing recorded documents. Before we move forward, I just need to show this legal disclaimer, just chat about it a couple of minutes while you read it. The fact is, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a loan modification or securitization auditor expert. I don't provide legal, tax, loan mod, or securitization advice. The fact of the matter is, I'm working overtime to find out ways that the people, the owners on the property, can fight back against fraud closure. And this is a second in the workshops I've done. Watch the first one, but this is an update, and I want to share my revised worksheet. We've fixed it up a little bit, and show you how, if you, depending on what's on your documents, an easy way to find the pooling and servicing agreement for the SEC for your loan. Where was your loan? Because the key about that information is that is the contract that governs what the servicers can and cannot do with it. And they've been violating that contract all over the place. So I want to point out again, because what you're watching today is exactly content may change without notice. We're changing the content. We're learning more things. People are sharing. Information comes in. We're strengthening our arguments and our position. So today, I'm going to assume that you've already watched the workshop one. If you haven't watched that, please just stop this one right now. Go back, watch that workshop, because I'm not going to cover what we talked about there. I'm going to just move forward. So on that first workshop, we talked about getting the documents from the recorder or the registrar's office, how to fill out the analysis spreadsheet, how to identify violations on the documents. Today, I want to show you what I've changed on the worksheet, because I'll be, after this session, uploading the new version onto the website. But we're also going to do two things. We're going to identify the mortgage-backed security from the SEC, and we're going to go to the secinfo.com website. And I'm going to also show you how to link the forged documents from Homeowners for Justice to the sheet, because it turns out that when you link this information, both the pooling and servicing agreement plus the forged documents, if they're on my Homeowner for Justice webpage, suspicious signatures webpage, when you save that, when you print that turn that information, that spreadsheet, into a PDF document, which you can do with a free PDF writer you can download from the internet, those links are active. So if and when you're sending this out by email to local officials, those links on that PDF file will be active. They can just click on them and see the information. Saves printing gobs and gobs of paper, and it might be a way that we can spread this information around more quickly with less effort on the part of the homeowners. So, back to the SEC. First, I want to show you what I've changed on the documents. So this is the blank sheet. What I've done pretty much is just edited and increased the document checklist items. So first, I put in black at the top a checklist of things you're going to need to do. Do you need to get the notary signatures to check with the Secretary of State, to check the signature themselves for if it's the same signature or not? Do you need to get certified documents to file a notary complaint? And do you need to check via journal entries these signatures of the sellers on these recorded documents? The rest of these, I've added the letters that match the owner's statement of suspicious documents. So now this worksheet is going to be part of that statement, which we'll do a workshop on that later this week. But it's identified. It's A through L, so it's all the same. Now, I'm noticing here that these items actually should be down. I'm going to correct this sheet right while we're talking. These items should have their own spots. vacant spots. So what I've got to include is the mortgage-backed security PSA, pooling and servicing agreement link, spot for that, a spot for the loan conveyance items, which is typically found in that PSA on item 2.01. Some are going to have that, a link to that, some will not, the pooling and servicing agreements. And then I've linked here, just put in some forged signature spots where you can actually link the forged signatures to your worksheet. And then I've added this information over here. For everyone's information and to remind us how this should have looked if they had done the recording of the documents correctly, a correct mortgage-backed security assignment of the note and deed of trust to that mortgage-backed security would have gone from the originator, the entity that started the loan and called themselves lender, even though they were not lenders legally, technically, because they did not use their own money. Then it would go from the O, originator, to the S, the seller, to the depositor, and this information of these entities is on the pooling and servicing agreement. We're going to go through that here in just a minute. And then from the depositor to the trustee. So if they had actually done these correctly prior to the cutoff date, and typically they have anywhere 60, 90, 120, 180 days after a pooling and servicing agreement, that they could have created these assignments. You notice that there's 4 of them. And this would have correctly, legally moved that loan and deed of trust or mortgage from the originator over to the trustee. They didn't do that. But this is why I want this written and want to remind everybody that ever looks at this how they blew it and why this assignment filed after the MBS cutoff date or the impossible beneficiary is done now. They're faking and forging these documents, and the more you understand that, the better off everyone is going to be. So I'm going to jump to our violations page where I've reordered and put down the document checklist, the items that need to be done for this example. And when you do it for yourself, this will be the things that you need to do. Oh, which notaries do I need to check? Well, it's on this document, that document. And another change that I put down on each one of the example front, the blank piece, and also this one. I've just put a column here for the commission number. This way, this is a good worksheet for you. You've got the notary name, the county, the state, the expiration date of the commission, and the commission number. So you can file these complaints, you can request the certified signatures, file complaints, and know where to go to get the journal entries. You get the journal entry from the notary for the signer's name. And we'll talk more about that under the notary signature workshop, the notary complaints, which I plan to do later this week. So that's your checklist, and then these are the same violations that we'd found before, but I've put them in perhaps a little different order, and I've labeled them A through L. Now, in this particular case, and I'd like to show you how I'm using them myself. I think it'll be very helpful. So, do we have proof of false notarization? Well, we know that this notary, Emmanuel, notarized a forged signature. I know that this signature is forged. I happen to have copies of it on the Homeowner for Justice page. So I like to put these things in yellow when I see a violation. So we know that this notary has notarized a forged signature. We know that this Lauren Stone is definitely a forged signature, so we know Ramon is also notarizing a forged signature. We know that, and so I'm highlighting those that we know are forged, that I already have proof of that. I've got many different signatures for that same name. So I'm highlighting these because we know that all of these notarizations now are false because they're notarizing forged signatures. We have no way of knowing who or what actually signed these documents, because there's so many different signatures on file for these people, the same names. Was any assignment recorded after the notice of default? No, it was not, because here we've got the notice of default down here, all the assignments and substitution were filed before that, so we have no there. Did we have a servicer as an assignee or beneficiary? Well, yeah, right here. This one, they signed as, they got the assignment. That's illegal. Here now, as the servicer, they are doing all this kind of information. They're assigning, they're substituting the trustee, claiming to be the beneficiary. Remember, a trustee substitution can only be done by the beneficiary, and they claim to be the beneficiary, but they're a servicer. It's illegal. So I've highlighted these three. Were any of the assignments filed after the mortgage-backed security trust cutoff date? Well, yeah, like all of them. So we'll include this one. It was filed long after the trust cutoff date, which would have been sometime in 06. So then, did they use a defunct lender in any way? No. Is MERS on a document? Yes. And then the violations. So it's interesting, now you can see these are the violations, and of course you need to understand that the notice of default rests on a fake forged document, a faulty void document. So the notice of default has to be void because it is not legal, and the notice of sale, which is based on a notice of default, is void, because every document on this particular example, this is a real property example, these are all void, fake, forged documents with no authority. Of course, they're for closing on the house. And that's the dilemma. That's how come I'm constantly bringing back everything we look at on live stream, everything that everybody says to do. I'm coming back to the fact, well, of course it's illegal, but they're losing the house. So how do we get to keep the house? And the one thing that this strategy feeds into is statewide grand juries around the country. We need to get our states to start a grand jury investigation into the forgery and fraud building blocks used by every servicer. Most of the documents that I find are just like this. They're different names, different entities, but it's the same forgery, it's the same practice. And as we can show this practice over many different properties, that should show intent to fraud and a conspiracy to commit fraud. So now, in this particular case, and about a third of the documents that I review for people have some kind of a fake name, a fake beneficiary, which is the U.S. Bank National Association as trustee for the CSMC Mortgage Loan Trust 2007-3. That is a mortgage-backed security. It cannot come directly from the servicer or the bank to the mortgage-backed security, because let's remember, it goes from the originator to the seller to the depositor to the trustee. So the whole thing is just fake. It looks real legal, sounds real legal, has been pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. We're going to stop. We're going to pull that wool back and go, okay, this is completely fake. But in this case, what this document gave us, so you may or may not have this on your recorded property, your documents on your property. If there is a document that names something like this, some certificate holders of some trust, some mortgage-backed security, there'll be big long names. You know where your loan is put. So let's jump to the SEC website. This is secinfo.com. And when you type that in, you're going to get this homepage. It looks like this. And I recommend you just type in the year, like 2007. Because what is going to come up are a whole long list of 2007 filings. Now, I'm scrolling down because you'll need to set up an account. It's free, but they just want to know who's accessing their SEC website. And that's fine. I don't have anything to hide. I'm just analyzing my recorded documents and helping people do the same. So you sign in. I'm going to sign in so that I can get all of the documents listed. List all group members. So as we look down, here's this big long list. Okay, now let's go back and look at what did that actually say? It said the U.S. Bank National Association as trustee for CSMC Mortgage Loan Trust. All right, so let's look for the CSMC. CSMC Mortgage Loan Trust. And it was -3. Oh, here we go. CSMC Mortgage-Backed Trust 2007-3. Huh, look at that. Okay, so now we come down to a whole bunch of other documents. You may have to click on these links back and forth until you find what you need to look for, which is called the Pooling and Servicing Agreement. Don't get caught up in the prospectus. That's just verbiage that they gave off to the investors and, lied to them about the, the value of this investment. What you want, and see, this is a key identifying title, but you won't always find that. And it may be that you just have to click on one. Do I see it? No, I don't. Back and forth until you find it, but it won't take you probably very long. This is instruments, including indentures, defining the rights of security holders. That's the key. So we come down here and find, oh, look at these titles, pooling and servicing. Wow. So let's look here. See, these are other names that are exhibits and stuff like that. We like this one because it says pooling and servicing. So when this is the actual link to the pooling and servicing agreement for that recorded document example. So I'm going to highlight the web link. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to come right back here into my spreadsheet, and I'm going to paste it. There is the link on my spreadsheet. Now when I go back to the SEC, notice Credit Suisse First Boston Mortgage Security Corp. That's a depositor. So I'm going to highlight that, copy it, Control C. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, oh, that's a depositor. Control V. I just pasted the depositor there. I think I'm going to wrap these, I'm going to put these cells into wrap mode so we can see the whole name. All right, so now we're back to the SEC. Oh, here's the, master servicer, master servicer, and trust administrator. Doesn't call that a seller even, or a depositor, but this is the servicer. It's named as a servicer. So highlight that, Control C. We're back on our spreadsheet. Master servicer. There we go. Let's go back to our SEC. Well, now we've got Universal Master Servicing, Washington Mutual Mortgage as a servicer. 2 more servicers. So let's just highlight that and get those on our spreadsheet under other servicers. Here's one, and here's another one. Spreadsheet. There we go. And let's see, we still need, the originator is going to be the original lender. So we'll put that there. And then the seller. Let's itemize the sellers from our SEC. So who's the seller? Oh, DLJ Mortgage Capital, Inc. And you'll notice when you look at your recorded documents, and if you can find your pooling and servicing agreement like this, you will note that none of the names on any of these categories are on any of your documents. Well, no, see, in this case, we don't even have Wells Fargo on these documents. Who's the Bank of America as successor to back home loan servicing? Illegal. All right, let's get the trustee. So who's the trustee? U.S. Now we do recognize that name. U.S. Bank National Association. It's sitting right here. And this is where they came up with that illegal, impossible beneficiary designation. U.S. National Bank Association for this trust is the trustee. And the correct order of assignments is never from a bank to the trustee. It would have to be from the depositor. So Credit Suisse would have to have done this to the trustee, and the seller, DLJ Mortgage Capital, would have had to have done this to the depositor, and the original lender, servicer, originator was First National Bank, so they would have had to have an assignment to DLJ Mortgage Capital. Does that make better sense? This explanation, I swear, is going to ring true with prosecutors and attorneys and normal people like you and me, because that makes sense. And now I can understand why this is such fraud. It looks good, but it's completely bogus. So now, one more thing. Let's go back to this, our SEC. This is the Pooling and Servicing Agreement. See, it says right here, Pooling and Servicing Agreement. We got the right document. So now we look at the table of contents, and now we see, because section 2.01 is the conveyance of the trust fund. This happens to be on page 93. It is not linked. So what I'm going to do is say conveyance of trust fund on page 93. I'm going to copy and paste that on my spreadsheet where it is. So conveyance of trust fund, and it's actually, I'm going to say 2.01, because that is the section, and it's on page 93. So there is no doubt from anywhere that the correct document, the contract that oversees the conveyance of this loan, is right there in that section. And anybody can go look at it and determine if this is right or not. You can see contractually it is not. We've just added this information here so that people can understand, those that are not securitization experts, that have not done this research and study, but they can understand the simple, basic, follow the assignments, what should have been done. That's why this is on every one of these worksheets now for your use. If you have a property that does not have this in any of its recorded documents, then it may be a bit of a trick to find out. And we can work on you with that. There's securitization auditors that can help you identify the correct pooling and servicing agreement. Don't let not knowing that stop you, because there's just so much else that's wrong. That is only just supporting documentation for this item, the impossible beneficiary trustee. The trustee of the mortgage-backed security. It's an impossible beneficiary designation. So don't worry that you don't have the correct PSA, but if you do have that on your documents, you can at least get it on your worksheet for yourself and for everyone you send this worksheet to. Now, I wanted to just quickly show you how to do the links for forged signatures. So we know that Jane Martorana, is a forged signature, because I have several of those on my Homeowner for Justice website, and I'll show you how to link that. We also know that Lauren Stone is too. And we know that on these documents there's several Lauren Stones. We're only going to link it once, because all three of them, in fact, I think on these documents themselves, Lauren Stone had different signatures. It's classic. They'll do it on the same property. They just don't care. They're just doing whatever they're told to do, these people that sign. And we really need to climb that ladder and snag the people that are in charge of this. So, Jane Martorana. So if you go to the Homeowner for Justice website, hofj.org, and you go to foreclosure defense, we've talked about the first sheet, which highlights all the different defenses, and I've got some live streams there for training and stuff. And here's the sheet for OCC complaints. We haven't done the notary complaint yet, but I'm going to get that workshop done. Suspicious signatures is the document that you want to click on. Now, on suspicious signatures, there's a lot of discussion about it, including John O'Brien, some links to different things you can look at. But when you're wanting to find the names, this is where you want to be. And right now, this is the I haven't updated this for a little bit. This update will change. This list will change, and the signatures that we're able to collect and upload into these names will change. Right now, we're looking for Jane. I've done them alphabetically by first name. So Jane, here's Jane. So let's click on that link, Jane, and up comes this assignment and some other documents. Oh yeah, look at that signature. I'm sorry. Oh yes, and I had found online 4 different signatures for Jane. So this is linked right now to Jane Martirana. So I'm going to highlight that link in the search engine, you know, the HTTP line, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it. So there is the link to those forged documents. You can link it for yourself now without even having to print those documents. You can print the documents for yourself and create a paper package if you like. But this is a quick way to reference everything that you can find in this one worksheet, which is really going to be very powerful. So let's find Lauren Stone. So we're back to the Homeowner for Justice webpage, and let's scroll down. Lauren Stone. Now I will do this every time I update a link, you know, with a package of new signatures. I found more, I found another name. I'm going to put the date on it so that you can know when it was last updated. You can keep track of that and say, oh boy, there's a new package. Let's link that instead. Let me find out what I need to print in addition to the ones that I already have. So Lauren Stone's pages right now, I think there's about 15 of them. I'm highlighting that link, copying it. I'm going to go right down here and I'm going to paste it. So now we have the links to the mortgage-backed security pooling and servicing agreement and the forged signatures. This is a very powerful worksheet. And when you combine that with the law that I quote in the owner statements of suspicious documents, there's no doubt about it. They violated all these laws. You've seen over and over from everyone, virtually everywhere. Truth is coming out in the news. People are speaking the truth, and it's growing. But we need to take that truth and make a change with it. And this is one of the methods that we're going to be able to do that. So today, on this second section of analyzing your recorded documents, please try to find the mortgage-backed security link for your own pooling and servicing agreement. If it's on your recorded documents, it's relatively easy to find, a little bit of hunting and pecking around on the SEC website. And you can link documents from Homeowners for Justice if we happen to have it. And I am working overtime on getting more and more and more documents up for people to use. This is the heart and soul of the building blocks of fraud the banks have used to cheat us. This is CJ Holmes, founder of Homeowners for Justice, signing off for this workshop. Thank you so much for watching, and very best of luck to you.